At first glance, NEOM seems like a sci-fi dream. A $500 billion mega project rising from the sands of Saudi Arabia, one that promises flying taxis, vertical cities, and climate-controlled urban utopias. But beneath the dazzling renders and polished PR campaigns lies something far more complicated and far more strategic. Johnny Harris, known for dissecting global systems through a journalist's lens, recently turned his focus on NEOM. But this isn't just a video about architecture or urban planning. It's about power, influence, and the way governments and corporations shape public opinion through something called manufactured consent. Manufactured consent is a term coined by Edward S. Herman and Noam Chomsky. It describes how powerful institutions, often working through media, subtly engineer public support for ideas that benefit the elite. They don't force people to agree. They just manage what people see, hear, and understand. And NEOM? It might be the most ambitious modern case study of that process. Let's start with the basics.
Anyone try to build a futuristic city in a barren desert? That is a question I've had for a very long time, and one I intend to get to the bottom of.
NEOM is a flagship project of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, a sweeping economic plan led by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. On paper, the vision is admirable: diversify the kingdom's economy, reduce its dependence on oil, and build a new Silicon Valley in the desert. But what Johnny Harris exposes is that NEOM isn't just about futuristic cities. It's about branding a regime. It's about transforming how the world perceives Saudi Arabia. From a conservative monarchy with a harsh human rights record into a tech-savvy, open-for-business innovation hub. This shift doesn't happen accidentally. It's manufactured. The marketing around NEOM is as intense as the engineering behind it. Slick videos, influencer tours, tech partnerships with Western firms, even Hollywood-style trailers, all designed to tell the same story. Saudi Arabia is changing. But as Johnny Harris points out, when you peel back the layers, you see contradictions. A city that promises freedom in a country that jails dissenters. A place of environmental sustainability being built in one of the most ecologically fragile regions on Earth. A haven of innovation, constructed by migrant labor under heavily criticized working conditions. The story being sold doesn't always match the reality on the ground. One of the most controversial aspects of NEOM is the line, a linear city stretching 170 kilometers through the desert. It's marketed as a climate-positive smart city with no roads, no cars, and zero carbon emissions. But what's rarely mentioned in official videos is that the land chosen for the line is home to the Ohawitat tribe, a Bedouin community with deep ancestral roots in the region. Since 2020, multiple reports, including those by Human Rights Watch, have documented forced evictions, arrests, and even killings of tribal members resisting displacement. For Johnny Harris, this is a textbook example of manufactured consent. The global public is shown utopian digital renders, while human rights violations go largely underreported. Media access in Saudi Arabia is tightly controlled. Journalists often need government approval to enter, and independent reporting on NEOM is rare. Meanwhile, high-profile Western journalists and YouTubers are flown in, given VIP tours, and shown only the polished surface of the project. It's a subtle but powerful tactic. By shaping the narrative early and controlling who tells the story, the regime builds consent around the project before most people even know what's really happening. And it's not just media. There's also the role of Western corporations, top architecture firms, AI startups, biotech companies, and even former diplomats are lining up to work with NEOM. Why? Because the money is enormous and because aligning with the future sells. But Johnny Harris asks a critical question: at what cost? When companies join NEOM, are they endorsing innovation or legitimizing authoritarian rule? When they help build the future, are they complicit in erasing the past? The NEOM story also reveals something deeper about modern geopolitics. It's not just about oil anymore. It's about soft power, controlling the narrative, owning the headlines, and winning hearts before minds ask too many questions. This is where manufactured consent becomes so effective. NEOM isn't just a city, it's a symbol. It's a massive, carefully marketed campaign to rebrand an entire nation. And it's working. Billions of people have seen NEOM's ads. Very few have heard about the evictions. That imbalance is not accidental, it's designed. Johnny Harris doesn't accuse, he investigates. He doesn't create outrage, he creates awareness. And that's what makes his approach to NEOM so impactful. He forces viewers to look at both the beauty and the cost, the ambition and the contradictions. He shows how easily powerful entities can manage perception through storytelling, imagery, and silence. NEOM is not just a project, it's a masterclass in media strategy, a live experiment in how reality can be curated for global consumption. In the end, the question isn't whether NEOM will be built. Parts of it already are. The question is, what kind of future are we walking into? And who gets to decide what that future looks like? Because when decisions are made behind closed doors, when consent is shaped rather than earned, and when stories are sold instead of told, that's when we need voices like Johnny Harris most. Voices that ask, what are we being shown? And what are we not? If this video gave you a new perspective on NEOM and global media, consider subscribing. We break down real stories with real evidence and aim to uncover what's beneath the surface. Stay sharp, stay curious, and as always, don't just watch the news. Understand it.